What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and today I want to talk more about Zenimax Media and Microsoft because the biggest acquisition of the year is set to close in just a matter of weeks. For those that don't know what's happening, Microsoft is buying Zenimax Media for about $7 billion, and with that purchase comes every game underneath the Zenimax Media umbrella, including every game made by Bethesda. We're talking about franchises like Doom, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, upcoming you have Starfield, and so many more, and these games are left hanging in the balance as of right now. Phil Spencer has said the games will be judged on a case-by-case basis, but there needs to be more detail shared as to what the actual plan is once this acquisition and deal is officially closed. Until that point, a lot of people have been left speculating, including myself and many others in the industry, and every single Saturday morning I get up and I listen to the Kinda Funny Xcast with Paris Lilly, Gary Whitta, and Snowbike Mike as they talk more about the world of Xbox, they recap the news of the week, and it's a very, very good show. Highly recommend checking it out, and I will have it linked down below. But this week's topic was Bethesda and Microsoft. What are these games going to do? Or more specifically, what is Microsoft going to do with these games? Will they be Xbox exclusives? Will they remain multi-platform? Or will it be kind of a mixed bag? And today, I wanted to share my take on the situation. Essentially, there are two different takes of this situation. On one side, you have people like Paris Lilly that look at this $7 billion deal and put themselves in the shoes of an executive at Microsoft that says, with this $7 billion, I can entice more people to come over to the world of Xbox. But on the other side, you have people like myself that think with this $7 billion deal, I can then amplify my money because if I just leave everything exactly the way that it is, then bring these games to Game Pass, I give people an incentive to come over to Xbox, but on top of that, I'm not looked at as the bad guy, and I'm still making more money from PlayStation, and Nintendo, and Steam. In my opinion, this acquisition isn't meant to build out some kind of large library of exclusives on Xbox. Of course, it will build up that Xbox brand because these games are going to launch day and date on Game Pass, which is an incredibly powerful tool whenever somebody is deciding what console they want to get. And on top of that, there's a high probability that these games will have some kind of timed exclusivity deal with a lot of their DLC. But more so, I think this investment is to build out Microsoft's gaming list on their financial sheet. I think this is meant to build out the financial side of what Microsoft offers in the gaming space, because if they put a $7 billion investment in for Zenimax Media, that's going to pay for itself in just a matter of years if they continue pumping out these high-quality games that Bethesda is known for from these very, very popular franchises. If anybody spends $7 billion on something, they are looking for a return on that investment. And so if you have these games coming out and they are prepared to launch on multiple different platforms, why would you isolate 50% or more of the player base just for the sake of doing so to try to build up your own brand? PlayStation 5 is already selling incredibly well. The install base on the PlayStation 4 is incredibly large, much larger than that of the Xbox One or the Xbox Series X at this point in time. So if these people have already invested in a piece of technology, lower that barrier of entry and say, hey, we know you don't have an Xbox, and we know that we own Bethesda now, but you can still play Fallout, and you can still play Elder Scrolls, and you can still play Starfield. You just have to buy the games just like you normally would. That is the most accessible way to get people playing Xbox games. And just imagine on a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 5, booting up that game and seeing Xbox Game Studios every time you dive into Fallout, every time you dive into an Elder Scrolls game, every time you dive into a Doom game. That branding is very, very powerful, but it's not limiting anybody and limiting access. You still are able to play the games that you know and love. Now you just associate these good times with the Xbox brand, so it builds it up even more. It's very similar in nature to what you see Sony doing in the PC side, because while Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding and Days Gone are PlayStation experiences, they are now going to be available on PC. And so if you look to that, you see PlayStation gamers spawning from the PC side of the world. You see PC gamers beginning to become PlayStation fans. That's very, very powerful. Growing that brand outside of your most core fan base is an important part of growing your company as a whole into the future. And I think that Xbox is poised to do that through their Zenimax Media acquisition. So going back to my two-sided example, you have one that is focused on building up the Xbox brand and the power that it can bring, and this is a very plausible explanation of why the company could spend $7 billion. It wouldn't shock me to see some of these games go exclusive, but it seems much more reasonable from a financial perspective, from a company and a business perspective, that a $7 billion investment would be much safer if you kept things exactly the way that they were and continued to release these games on as many platforms as possible, because the franchises themselves have not changed in the slightest. They're still very popular and people will want to play them. Again, we are just a few weeks out from this deal closing, so I would like to hear what you have to say. Do you think this is going to be one of those situations where every big Zenimax Media game goes exclusive to Xbox? Do you think it's going to be something where a lot of these games remain multi-platform, or do you think they will still continue to take it at a case-by-case basis? What are your thoughts? Would love to see what you're thinking down below. But of course, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Would love to see you on the podcast each and every weekday and on the drop on the weekends. But until next time, have a good one. Peace.